The secret my brother tried to hide did not come out in one dramatic moment. It surfaced slowly, through hesitation, through missing details, through the kind of silence that makes ordinary conversations feel slightly unstable. By the time I finally understood what he had been hiding, the damage had already reached far beyond the secret itself. What broke our relationship was not only what he did, it was the fact that he let me defend him. He let me trust him. He let me stand beside him while knowing the truth would eventually make me look like a fool. That is the kind of betrayal that changes a relationship at its root. Stories like this often end up on channels like Exposed Stories Media, where people talk openly about the family truths they once tried to protect. But when the story is your own, it does not feel dramatic. It feels humiliating, because the person who hurt you is also the person whose version of childhood lives in your head. And when that person becomes a stranger, part of your past does too. My brother's name is Ryan. He was 4 years older than me, and for most of my life he was the person I trusted fastest. Not because he was perfect, because he had a way of making chaos seem temporary. When things went wrong, Ryan always sounded like he knew how to get through them. Our family was close in the practical way many families are. We were not overly emotional. We did not talk through every feeling. We showed loyalty more than vulnerability. If one person had a problem, the others closed ranks automatically. Ryan understood that better than anyone. He knew how much our parents valued family solidarity. He knew how quickly I would defend him if someone outside the family criticized him. And he knew exactly how to sound sincere when he needed people to trust him. That mattered later more than I realized at the time. Growing up, Ryan was the impressive one. He was not necessarily smarter than everyone else, but he was more confident. Teachers liked him. Neighbors trusted him. Coaches praised his discipline. He had the kind of self-possession that made adults assume good character before they had actual evidence of it. That reputation followed him into adulthood. I was the quieter one, less certain, more observant. If Ryan walked into a room and shaped it, I stayed near the edges and studied it. That difference created a bond between us that felt natural for years. He moved forward. I watched his back. By the time Ryan was 30, he had built the kind of life our parents admired. A stable job in commercial lending, a house in a good neighborhood, a wife who was warm, organized, and far more patient than he deserved. From the outside, he looked like proof that discipline and good instincts eventually paid off. His wife, Megan, became part of our family quickly. She was easy to love, not loud, not performative. She remembered details, asked thoughtful questions, and treated our parents with genuine respect. If Ryan had chosen someone cruel or shallow, maybe I would have noticed other things sooner. But Megan made his life look even more legitimate. They had a daughter 2 years into the marriage. That changed the way our whole family related to Ryan. He was no longer only the older son who had done well. He was a father, a provider, the stable one. That label gave him even more protection than he already had. The first sign that something was wrong seemed small at the time. I was at his house one Saturday afternoon helping him move shelves in the garage. Megan was inside with their daughter. Ryan's phone buzzed on the workbench twice in less than a minute, and I glanced over automatically. The preview on the screen showed only a name I didn't recognize and one phrase: "Please don't ignore this." That could have meant anything. Work issue, old friend, spam text. I would have forgotten it immediately if Ryan had not reacted the way he did when he noticed I had seen the screen. He grabbed the phone too fast. Then he laughed. Not naturally. In that thin, delayed way people laugh when they are trying to soften something already tense. He said it was just drama from a client he used to work with. The explanation was plausible, but the speed of it stayed with me. Over the next few months, I started noticing other things. Ryan became harder to reach on weekends. Megan seemed more tired, though she never complained directly. At family dinners, he checked his phone under the table more often than before, then disappeared outside to take calls he used to answer casually in front of everyone. None of that would have mattered on its own. People get busy. Marriages go through stressful seasons. Jobs become more demanding. But I kept returning to one detail. Ryan always had an explanation ready before anyone fully formed the question. That is not how innocence sounds. That is how preparation sounds. Then Megan called me one Thursday evening. We had never been close in a confessional way. Friendly, yes. Comfortable, yes. But not the kind of relationship where she called me privately unless something important had shifted. Her voice told me immediately that it had. She asked if Ryan had said anything to me lately about money. I said no. There was a pause. Then she said she had found a credit card statement she did not understand. Several charges had been made from hotels in a city Ryan said he had not visited in over a year. When she confronted him, he told her the card had been compromised. Again, a plausible explanation. But she did not sound convinced. I asked whether the bank had flagged fraud. She said Ryan told her he handled it. That phrase mattered. Not the bank is handling it. Not we filed a report. He handled it. She asked if I thought she was overreacting. I said no. At the time, I assumed the problem was an affair. That was the obvious shape available to the facts. Secret calls, hotel charges, defensive explanations. Painful, but familiar. I told Megan to gather whatever she could find before confronting him again. Not because I wanted to turn her into an investigator. Because I knew Ryan. And I knew that if he sensed uncertainty, he would fill it with language until she doubted her own instincts. That turned out to be exactly right. Over the next 2 weeks, Megan uncovered more charges. Not just hotels. Cash withdrawals. Online payments to services with vague names. One transfer from a joint account into a separate account Ryan had never mentioned. When she asked him directly about that account, he said it was connected to a short-term investment idea he had not wanted to burden her with yet. That sentence did 2 things at once. It made him sound practical, and it implied that her concern was emotional noise around something he understood better than she did. Ryan had always been good at that kind of language. Megan asked me if I would talk to him. I said yes. Not because I thought he would confess to me, because I wanted to hear how he explained himself when he did not realize how much I already knew. We met for a drink after work the following Tuesday. For the first 15 minutes, he acted completely normal. Work complaints, a joke about parenting, mild frustration over mortgage rates. Then I asked him whether everything was okay at home. He looked at me for half a second too long. Then he smiled and said yes. I mentioned that Megan seemed stressed. He sighed in a way that suggested long-suffering patience. He said she had been insecure lately and reading too much into routine financial noise. Then he added something that changed the whole texture of the conversation. He said, I need you not to feed it, not help her, not support the marriage, not encourage calm. He needed me not to feed it. The phrase revealed more than he intended. He was not asking for understanding. He was trying to manage who got to define reality. I asked whether there was anything he needed to tell me before things got worse. He leaned back, looked straight at me, and said no. Then he said the most dangerous sentence of the entire evening. He said, "Trust me." That was the last time he ever said that to me without consequence. Later that night, Megan sent me screenshots. Not only card charges, messages, not romantic messages. Worse in a way I did not expect. They were between Ryan and someone listed only as D. Mercer. The language was tense, transactional, and full of references to deadlines, proof, and money owed. One line made my stomach drop. "If your wife finds out what this really is, I'm done protecting you." That sentence did not fit the affair theory. Protection implied leverage. The tone implied history. And whatever Ryan was hiding, another person had enough knowledge to threaten him with it. I called Megan immediately. We both understood at once that the secret was not simply personal. It was structural. Something tied to money, yes, but also to concealment, maybe to past actions that predated the marriage altogether. That was the moment I stopped thinking of Ryan as a husband behaving badly and started thinking of him as a man with a compartment in his life no one in the family had ever truly seen. The next step came by accident. Or maybe not accident. Maybe pressure simply made carelessness inevitable. 3 days later, I was at our parents' house when our mother mentioned Ryan had been there earlier asking if she still had copies of old family tax records from several years back. He said he needed them for a lending compliance review. That explanation sounded wrong immediately. My mother kept almost nothing unless my father insisted. And Ryan, who worked in lending, would never need old family tax records for any legitimate work purpose. I asked what years he wanted. She told me. The dates lined up with a stretch of time shortly before his marriage to Megan. A period I remembered only vaguely as the years when Ryan seemed to have extra money, bought a nicer car than he should have been able to afford, and said he was finally getting ahead. I asked whether he took anything. My mother said no because she couldn't find the files fast enough and he had to leave. That should have been a relief. Instead, it made my pulse spike. Ryan was trying to retrieve old documents before someone else did. The question was why. That night, I started digging into public court records. Not wildly. Not because I thought I would instantly find a hidden criminal life. Because once money, secrecy, and old records start converging, the truth is usually already sitting somewhere in paperwork waiting for the right person to search. At first, nothing obvious came up under his full name. Then I widened the search by county and year. That was when I found the civil judgment. It was not recent. It had been filed almost 8 years earlier and quietly settled later. The plaintiff was a small investment group. The defendant list included a limited liability company I did not recognize. And beneath that company name, as a managing member, was Ryan. I read the filing twice before it registered. The allegation was not abstract mismanagement. It claimed Ryan had solicited money from 3 acquaintances for what he described as a short-term property acquisition, then diverted part of the funds to cover unrelated debts while providing falsified progress updates. In plain language, he took money under false pretenses. I stared at the screen so long my eyes began to ache. This was not a current affair or a minor financial mistake inside a marriage. This was a past scandal. One serious enough to produce a legal action. One hidden well enough that even I, his own brother, had never heard a word about it. Then I noticed the settlement note. Confidential. Resolved outside trial. No admission of wrongdoing. No admission, maybe, but enough truth that he wanted the records before anyone else could connect them to him. I printed everything, and for the first time in my life, I knew that whatever happened next was going to end the version of Ryan I had carried since childhood. I did not sleep the night I found the civil judgment. Every time I closed my eyes, the same details replayed. The fake updates, the diverted funds, the old dates, and all the while, another fact sat beneath everything else. Ryan had been trying to retrieve records tied to that exact period. By morning, the question was no longer whether he had a secret. The question was whether he was hiding only the old case or whether something in his present life connected back to it. Secrets do not usually reawaken on their own. Something had triggered his panic. I called Megan before work. I told her what I found and read the key portions of the filing aloud. She did not interrupt me once. When I finished, she said something that made the whole thing worse. She said Ryan had recently taken over more of their financial planning because he insisted she was too stressed to deal with it properly. That alone might have been ordinary in another marriage, but under these circumstances it sounded like a man re-establishing control before disclosure reached the house. I asked whether she had access to all current accounts. She hesitated. Then she admitted there was one account she had only seen references to, never direct statements from. Ryan said it held money reserved for private placement opportunities connected to accredited investors. The phrase was technical enough to sound legitimate and vague enough to discourage follow-up. I told her not to confront him yet, not because I was protecting him, because I wanted to understand whether the old fraud claim was a dead secret or part of a continuing pattern. And if it was continuing, confronting him too soon might simply give him time to clean up the evidence. That afternoon, I took the printed records to my father. He read more slowly than I expected. Not because he couldn't follow it, because he was looking for some interpretation that would let Ryan remain the son he believed he had raised. I watched hope die in his face one paragraph at a time. When he finished, he asked one question. "Does Megan know?" I said not all of it. He set the papers down and looked older than he had the week before. Parents do that when they realize a child's character failure is not an isolated mistake but a concealed pattern. The shock is not only moral, it is autobiographical. He asked whether their names appeared anywhere in the old filings. They did not. That relieved him for about 10 seconds. Then he asked why Ryan wanted old tax records from the same years. I had been waiting for him to say it aloud. Because if Ryan was trying to pull our parents' records from that period, there was a chance he had used their documents, their address, or their financial history in ways none of us knew about. A possibility that ugly cannot be treated gently. It has to be checked. My father went to the garage and returned with 2 old storage boxes. By early evening, the dining room looked like an accountant's office after a hurricane. Returns, bank statements, loan files, envelopes with handwriting from years when everyone still trusted Ryan absolutely. My mother made coffee no one drank. The first clear discrepancy came from a tax transcript request. There was a copy in Ryan's handwriting, signed by my father, dated the same year as the civil case. My father swore he never signed it. At first I assumed he had simply forgotten. Then I compared the signature to a known original from the same year. It was close. Close enough to pass quickly. Close enough for family to trust it. But not close enough to survive careful attention. Ryan had forged our father's signature. No one spoke for several seconds after that. The silence was not confusion. It was recognition. Because once forgery enters a story, every earlier benefit of the doubt collapses. You are no longer dealing with a man under pressure. You are dealing with a man who crosses lines methodically. We kept searching. In one folder, we found a home equity pre-qualification letter in my parents' names that had been mailed years earlier and never followed through. In another, we found correspondence from a lender addressed to a post office box Ryan once used when he moved apartments. Step by step, the picture sharpened. During the same period in which he was promising investors a property deal, Ryan had assembled documentation that could have allowed him to leverage our parents' financial information without their informed consent. Whether he fully completed that process or only attempted it was still unclear. But the intention alone was enough to make my mother cry. She kept saying the same thing. He used us. Not in the emotional, dramatic sense. In the literal sense. Our parents had not merely raised a son who lied. They had become part of the material he worked with. I called Megan back that night and told her everything. The old fraud claim. The forged signature. The possibility that Ryan's current hidden account was not an isolated marital issue but part of a longer habit of using proximity as access. She was quiet for a long time. Then she told me she had found something else in their basement office after Ryan left for work. A metal lockbox. Inside were account summaries, printed emails, and 3 promissory notes signed by people she had never heard him mention. The dates on 2 of them were recent. Recent. That word changed the atmosphere more than anything else that day. The secret was not over. It had not ended years ago in a quietly buried settlement. It had survived, adapted, and found new forms inside the life he built afterward. Megan scanned the documents and sent them to me. The notes were ugly, but plain. Ryan had borrowed money personally from at least 3 individuals under the guise of short-term access to a lending-related investment opportunity. The terms were private, informal, and full of rushed confidence. One note referenced repayment from funds expected through portfolio restructuring. That language sounded polished enough to reassure non-experts. But one of the accompanying emails made the truth clear. The lender threatened to contact Megan directly if he was not repaid by the end of the month. That explained the hotel charges, the strange messages, and the line about protection. Ryan was not only hiding a past fraud claim, he was running some version of the same scheme again, not necessarily large enough to attract national headlines, but large enough to destroy his marriage, damage our parents, and pull me into complicity if I stayed silent. Megan asked the question I had been avoiding in my own head. What if he's been using our daughter's college account too? That possibility made my stomach turn. I told her to check immediately, but only through digital access, not by raising anything with him. An hour later, she called me back in tears. The account was not empty. That would have been almost cleaner. Instead, it had been borrowed against through a custodial transfer structure Ryan apparently set up himself months earlier, moving money out and replacing part of it later to make the balances look healthier during casual reviews. It was the same moral pattern as before, just hidden inside family trust instead of outsider optimism. At that point, the confrontation became unavoidable, but I did not want it at their house, and I did not want it with only Megan facing him. So we planned carefully. Saturday afternoon. My parents' dining room. All of us present. Documents on the table, no room for improvisation. Ryan arrived expecting an ordinary lunch. The moment he saw my face and then Megan's, his posture changed. When he saw the papers laid out in stacks, he stopped pretending entirely. That was the first honest expression I had seen from him in months. My father told him to sit down. He did. No one yelled at first. That is another thing people misunderstand about family confrontations. The worst ones often begin quietly because everyone knows volume is not the problem. The truth is, my father started with a forged signature. Ryan looked at the document, then at him, then back down again. For a moment I thought he might deny it. Instead, he asked where we found it. That was answer enough. Megan took over after that. She asked about the current promissory notes, the hidden account, their daughter's college fund, the message threatening to tell her what this really is. Ryan tried, at first, to contain the scope. He said the old case had been misunderstood. He said the new situation was temporary. He said he had every intention of fixing it before anyone was affected. That phrase, as soon as it entered the room, changed how I saw him permanently. Before anyone was affected. As if Megan, their daughter, our parents, and I had not already been living inside the effects of his concealment. I asked him directly whether he had run the same kind of scheme before and was doing it again now. He looked at me for a long moment and said the word scheme was unfair. Then he described what he had done in language polished enough to sound almost respectable. Private opportunities, short timing gaps, trust-based capital rotation. He spoke like a man trying to downgrade moral harm through vocabulary. My father cut him off with one sentence. You took money under false pretenses because you believed your relationships would protect you. That was exactly it. Ryan did not deny the structure, only the intent. He kept returning to the same defense. He never meant to hurt anyone. He meant to bridge a temporary shortfall. He meant to restore everything before it became visible. That is the language of so many family betrayals. Not "I wanted to destroy us." Just "I thought I could fix it before you found out." As if concealment is kindness when the liar still likes the imagined ending. Megan asked the final question. She asked whether he ever planned to tell her if the money came back and no one caught him. Ryan hesitated. The whole room felt that hesitation physically. Then he said, eventually. That single word ended the marriage, even before the paperwork ever began. The aftermath of Ryan's secret did not explode all at once. It spread through the family in stages, each one revealing a new kind of loss. Megan moved into her sister's house with their daughter 2 days after the confrontation. My parents stopped sleeping well, and I discovered that losing a brother without him dying creates a grief that has nowhere clean to go. The legal side began first. Not criminal, at least not immediately. The people Ryan borrowed from wanted money back, not headlines. That is how these things survive longer than they should. Shame and pragmatism often do more to protect a deceitful person than innocence ever could. Megan hired an attorney and froze what she could. The attorney's review made one thing unmistakable. Ryan had not simply been careless with money. He had developed a repeatable pattern of creating urgency, using professional language to manufacture credibility, then covering old promises with new access. In any family, that pattern is catastrophic. Our parents were harder to deal with emotionally. My mother kept trying to separate the boy she raised from the man who did this. I understood why. Parents survive themselves partly by believing early love must count for something permanent. But reality was making that faith difficult. My father reacted differently. He became cold, not loud, not theatrical. He spoke about Ryan the way one speaks about a damaged bridge that can no longer be trusted with weight. That, more than anger, broke my heart, because I knew what it cost him to stop seeing his son as solid. Fathers like mine do not surrender respect easily. Once lost, it rarely returns in full. As for me, the hardest part was how thoroughly the secret rewrote memory. I started revisiting old moments with new suspicion. The year Ryan suddenly paid off his car early. The Christmas he gave our parents an expensive television no one thought he could comfortably afford. The stretch of time when he talked constantly about finally understanding leverage. At the time, those things looked like success. Now they looked like warning signs I admired because I trusted the wrong person. That is one of the ugliest truths family betrayal teaches. Sometimes your loyalty becomes part of the lie. You don't just get deceived. You become one of the conditions that made deception easier. Megan and I spoke more during those months than we ever had in all the years she was married to Ryan. Pain has a way of rearranging relationship hierarchies. We stopped being in-laws managing politeness and became two people standing on the same side of a truth neither of us wanted. She told me something once that I still think about. She said the worst part was not finding out he lied. It was realizing how often she had mistaken confusion for her own failure to understand, when in fact confusion was the environment he needed in order to keep going. That sentence changed how I understand manipulation. Ryan tried, for a while, to repair the damage through explanation. He wrote long emails. Not apologies exactly. Narratives. Each one designed to present himself as pressured, flawed, but ultimately decent. He said the old case had terrified him because it nearly ruined his future. He said after that, he told himself he would never let external systems control his opportunities again. He said borrowing privately from people who trusted him felt safer, cleaner, more human than dealing with institutions. That was perhaps the only fully honest thing he ever wrote. He did believe personal trust was easier to exploit than formal scrutiny. He just didn't say it in those words. But the structure of his choices revealed it plainly enough. He preferred relationship capital because emotional loyalty buys time that banks and courts do not. I stopped replying after the third email, not because I had no questions left, because by then I understood that his explanations were part of the same mechanism as the secret itself. He wanted control over the framing even after losing control over the facts. Exposed stories media often features stories where a hidden truth destroys a relationship not because of one shocking act, but because of what the secret reveals about a person's actual values. This was one of those stories. Ryan's secret was not just the old fraud claim or the current hidden borrowing. It was the worldview underneath both. The belief that trust was an asset to deploy rather than an obligation to honor. Once I understood that, our relationship ended in a deeper way than anger could accomplish. He was still alive, still my brother in the biological sense. But the reflexive confidence I had in him, the childhood loyalty, the instinct to assume good intent in moments of uncertainty, all of that died. And it never came back. Months later, after Megan formally filed for divorce, Ryan asked to meet me alone. I almost refused. Then I agreed, partly out of curiosity and partly because some stubborn part of me wanted to see whether the man I once knew still existed underneath the damage. We met in a quiet bar near the highway, the kind of place where people keep conversations low because no one there wants to become part of anyone else's story. Ryan looked worse than I expected. Not ruined, still composed, still dressed carefully, but the confidence he used to wear like a second skin now looked more like effort. He said he was sorry. He said he knew he had manipulated trust. He said he had spent years trying to outrun the first mistake he made, and each new concealment felt easier because exposure seemed increasingly unlivable. He said he did not know how to stop once his identity depended on not being seen clearly. That last sentence was the closest he ever came to real self-knowledge. I asked him whether he ever once looked at me, at Megan, at our parents, and understood that we were not just stakeholders in his mess. We were people whose version of him would be permanently damaged if the truth came out. I asked whether that mattered in real time or only afterward. He didn't answer immediately. Then he said something that made me feel strangely calm. He said, "Not enough, apparently." There it was. Not enough. Not enough conscience. Not enough restraint. Not enough love. At least not in the form that protects others from your worst decisions. I left that conversation knowing there would be no dramatic reconciliation later. No future holiday where we would laugh again and say families go through things. Some betrayals destroy the structure required for normality. This was one of them. My parents still see Ryan occasionally. Short visits. Careful terms. He sends birthday gifts for his daughter through Megan's attorney-approved channel and appears, by all external measures, to be trying to build a more stable life. I do not wish him ruin. I just no longer wish him closeness. That distinction took me a while to accept. For months, I thought the only morally serious response to what happened was total fury. But fury exhausts itself. What remained after it burned off was something quieter and, in a way, more definitive. Refusal. I refused to keep translating his choices into softer language. I refused to let the old brother-shaped loyalty keep overriding the facts of the man he became. I refused to confuse grief over losing him with obligation to restore him. That clarity became its own kind of freedom. If there is one lesson in this story, it is not simply that my brother hid a terrible secret. It is that the secret did not destroy our relationship by being exposed. It destroyed our relationship by existing for so long in the first place, by requiring him to look at all of us and choose concealment again and again, by revealing that what I thought was brotherhood meant something very different to him. Trust is not measured when things are easy. It is measured when truth becomes expensive. Ryan kept choosing the version of events that protected his image and his options, even when the cost shifted quietly onto the people who loved him most. That is not a mistake. That is character under pressure. My relationship with Megan survived in a strange, respectful form, not because the family structure remained intact. Because once the lie was stripped away, she and I no longer had to perform roles around it. Truth, even ugly truth, made one honest relationship possible while ending another. My parents changed too. My mother asks harder questions now. My father trusts documentation more than demeanor. Neither of them say that Ryan had good reasons anymore. That matters. Families often keep betrayal alive by speaking about it in unfinished, protective language. The moment people stop doing that, the truth can finally breathe. And if this story stays with you, it may be because somewhere in it you recognize something larger than one brother. That is why exposed stories media matters. Not just because secrets shock people, because secrets reveal what a person believes they are entitled to do when everyone around them still wants to believe the best. Sometimes the relationship doesn't break when the truth comes out. Sometimes it was already breaking every day the lie remained in place. So if someone you love keeps asking for your trust while resisting your questions, pay attention. Not every hidden truth is catastrophic. But the people who deserve your loyalty do not need your confusion in order to keep it. And the moment you realize someone has been using your love as cover, the relationship you thought you had may already be gone.